Dear JS Audio Radio listeners, this is 5th episode of Dr.Mrs. Muthulakshmi Reddy. The recap of the previous episode, that is 4th episode. You may think or wonder that why these episodes are too short. My intention is that I must not take much of your time, that is more valuable and precious. The second reason or notion of mine is that I must chuckle like a statue, this audio program, more attractive, attentionful, the news background is there in the Cancer Institute, Adyar, Chennai. Let us go step by step. In 1922, Dr. Reddy, examining her for the first time, detected cancer, but it was by then too late. From that day she stayed by that bedside of agony for nearby a year till her sister passed away in 1923. It was this personal experience by the deathbed of a beloved sister that laid the psychological foundation of all her anti-cancer work in the years to come. 5th episode begins here. In 1918, the Women's Indian Association was founded by two European women theosophists, Mrs. Margaret E. Cousins and Mrs. Gina Radhadasa. Dr. Mrs. Reddy was its first Indian member and for many years its secretary and editor of its journal, Sri Dharma. She later became its life president. Dr. Muthulakshmi Reddy visited England for the first time in 1925 for postgraduate studies, and returned in 1927. Very soon after her return she was nominated to the Madras Legislative Council and in a short while elected as its vice president. She thus became the first woman in the world to preside over a legislative body. Her work in the council between the years 1927-1930 was very fruitful. She was able to pilot through into laws many acts of social reform dear to her heart. The legislation to abolish the iniquitous Devadasi system, the Immoral Traffic Control Act, the Act to prevent cruelty to children, the bill for raising the age of consent of girls for marriage and many other acts of social reform were enacted into laws during this period, entirely as a result of her efforts. During this period she was nominated by the Viceroy to serve on the Sir Philip Hartog Education Commission, which was formed to review the educational programs in India and Burma. In 1930, however, came the Salt Satyagraha campaign of Mahatmaji. Dr. Mrs. Muthulakshmi Reddy was in Ooty when the news of Mahatmaji's arrest during the historic Dandi March came through. Dr. Mrs. Muthulakshmi Reddy immediately announced her intention to resign, and within an hour the letter of resignation, both from the council and the deputy presidentship, was in the hands of the English governor. The decision as to her next step was a very difficult one to take. There were three alternatives: to return to the very large and lucrative medical practice that she had. Her earnings between 1923 and 1930 was somewhere near Rs 15,000 a month. She was the medical officer to the Gosha ladies of every Zamindar and Raja in the undivided presidency, or to enter politics or to continue follow-up action on the many social reform laws that she was responsible for enacting. She was still in the midst of discussions and consultations with her elders and friends when an event happened that took the decision entirely out of her hands. To be continued. Wait for the next episode. Regards, Editor S. Rama Ishwarlal, the 24th of November 2021.